the beautiful girl is seeking revenge. She seduced the zombie with her body, and sought revenge with Beck Ye. Facing Beck Ye in red mech armor, who resembled a war god. Even Little B couldn't inflict the slightest damage on Beck Ye. I thought that Roxy Lee, who can control the zombie army, would be able to compete with Beck Ye. But in front of Beck Ye in a mech suit, she couldn't even last a round. In the end, both of them died under Beck Ye in the mech suit. With the perfect coordination between Beck Ye and Fat Person. Cleaned up all the zombies near the research institute. Next, Beck Ye spent another night creating an armored vehicle. Unexpectedly, it became the most advanced heavy armored vehicle in the world. Not only indestructible, it can also release high-voltage electricity that can destroy everything. It can even fire a laser cannon comparable to a small nuclear bomb. That person became excited upon seeing all of this. Excitedly circling around the tank non-stop. Even in a Marvel movie, he had never seen such a cool car. Xiaoyu knew that they were going to find her father. She hoped that she could also go out with us. Beck Ye decisively refused. Because most of the zombies outside have evolved now. It's very easy for him to encounter danger if he goes out. Xiaoyu was very sad after hearing his words. He is very worried about his father's uncertain fate outside. At this time, Dr. Zhang walked in holding a drone. He also thought it was too dangerous for Xiaoyu to go out, so he modified a drone for him using the dark crystal. This would allow Xiaoyu to control the drone remotely to investigate the situation. When he heard that he could help, Xiaoyu finally became happy. Beck Ye couldn't help but praise Dr. Han Zhang for researching the method of using energy dark crystal in such a short period of time. He is indeed the same famous Han Zhang from the previous life. To be absolutely safe, Beck Ye then placed the mecha on the tank. After everything was ready, Beck Ye and Fat Person left the research institute in the car. Fat Person immediately stepped on the gas pedal all the way, driving recklessly. The hard metal shell showed not a single scratch. The cars on the side of the road were crushed effortlessly, as if they were tofu. Soon the tank drove to the luxurious commercial street where Xiaoyu's father had visited. At this moment, they heard noises, and immediately a group of zombies surrounded them. Immediately, they all rushed and jumped onto the armored vehicle, continuously banging on the tank. They even used their disgusting faces to block the front windshield. That person directly started cursing loudly. At this moment, Beck Ye silently pressed a button in the car. Immediately, the car body emitted a sizzling sound of electricity. The next second, a powerful high-voltage electric current instantly turned the zombies into ashes. Even the fat person in the car was stunned and speechless by this scene. This is too powerful. Beck Ye then instructed Fat Person to drive to the next location. Since the zombies here have all evolved, there should be no survivors nearby. Beck Ye and Fat Person are unaware that all of this is being observed by a well-dressed man. A bigger crisis is quietly approaching. Fat Person drove for a long time without finding any clues. So Xiaoyu remotely operated the drone to check the situation nearby. And at this moment, Fat Person, who was like a smart person, honked the horn. In this way, trying to attract other survivors to come over. Maybe we can find Xiaoyu's father. No doubt. All the zombies around were attracted by his trumpet sound. Also woke up Beck Ye, who hadn't slept for days. Beck Ye almost picked up a wrench and killed Fat Person right there. Beck Ye let Fat Person take the opportunity to familiarize himself with the weapons on the war vehicle. After he pressed a button, the spikes popped out from the wheels on both sides in an instant. Once the poor zombie touched them, it would be ground into meat stuffing directly. As he pressed another button again, 2 beams of energy laser shot out from the front of the car in an instant. The power of the explosion was almost as strong as a mini nuclear bomb. The sleazy Fat Person had never seen such a scene before. His mouth opened wider than his head. Only poor people drive Maybachs. Real men should drive mechas. At just 18 years old, Beck Ye is the only mechanic on Earth. Not only can he handcraft futuristic technological warships and the most powerful doomsday mecha on Earth, he also handcrafted a safe and high-performance armored vehicle. Not only can it release high-voltage electricity that destroys everything, it can even shoot a laser cannon comparable to a small nuclear bomb. It also comes with drifting, roaring like a wild beast breaking free from its cage. Just now, Beck Ye and Fat Person arrived at the street where Xiaoyu's father had been seen. At this moment, they heard noises, and a group of zombies immediately surrounded them. Immediately, they all rushed and jumped onto the armored vehicle, constantly pounding on it. A powerful high-voltage current instantly made the zombie ashes scattered. Even the fat person in the car was stunned with his mouth agape. This is too amazing. Beck Ye continued to have the fat person drive to the next location. Since all the zombies here have evolved, there should be no survivors nearby. The fat person stepped on the gas pedal all the way and charged straight ahead. The hard metal. There wasn't a scratch left on the outer shell. The cars on the side of the road were crushed like tofu with ease. After walking for a long time, there were no signs of any trace. So Beck Ye let Xiaoyu remotely control the drone to check the situation nearby. But the next second, that person, this cutie, unexpectedly honked the horn a few times, provoking the group of zombies. The zombies around felt like they were insulted as never before. They rushed over desperately. That person took the opportunity to familiarize themselves with the equipment and weapons on the war chariot. After he pressed a button, the spikes on both sides of the wheels popped out instantly. Poor zombies, once they touch them, will be minced into meat filling directly. As he pressed another button again, the car instantly shot out 2 beams of energy. The power of the laser explosion rivaled that of a small nuclear bomb. The creepy fat person had never seen such a scene before. His mouth was even bigger than his head. The fat person, who had just recovered from his astonishment, pressed another button again. The front of the armored vehicle transformed instantly into a combination of a bulldozer and a shredder. Let's call it the zombie harvester for now. Not only can it completely crush zombies one by one, but the intelligent system of the armored vehicle is also more powerful. The fat person was also very surprised as he kept looking at the screen, where dark crystals kept popping up. Brother Ye, you know me too well. Also install the zombie dark crystal automatic separator for me. Just then, Xiaoyu spotted her own father's car. That person didn't dare to waste any words and quickly hurried over under Xiaoyu's guidance. But Xiaoyu discovered through the drone that there was no one in the car, predicting that her own father might have met with an accident on his way back. Xiaoyu, who was already feeling unwell, saw the scene and fell into unconsciousness again. That person was also not found in the abandoned car, nor any useful information. Beck Ye suggests going to Pui Hospital first to find some medicine to treat Xiaoyu's illness. As soon as the words fell, the two of them drove an armored vehicle to the hospital. Soon, the two arrived at Pui Hospital, just as they reached the entrance. That person was scared by the 8-character true words in front of him, and cold sweat streamed down. Beck Ye directly put on the mecha. On the side, that person also cursed angrily. This hospital has been taken over. At this time, Beck Ye walked over from behind. It's not surprising that the hospital, as a strategic location, has been occupied. Let's grab our stuff and leave. The two of them broke in directly, arriving at the hospital lobby. That person looked puzzled, wondering why there was no one around. There wasn't even a zombie in sight. Due to the hospital being large, Beck Ye could only separate from Fat Person to search for medical equipment and medicine. That person walked alone. The hospital corridor was unusually quiet, with the smell of disinfectant lingering in the air. Fat Person couldn't help but shiver. When Fat Person was still wondering that the smell was not the scent of disinfectant but of fruit, unaware that they had been poisoned. The next moment, Fat Person collapsed. Meanwhile, Beck Ye on the other side called out to Fat Person, but received no response, completely unaware that Fat Person had collapsed due to poisoning. Beck Ye thought that fat person had gone off to deceive and play tricks again. The next second, Beck Ye also smelled this familiar fragrance. He felt a sense of unease in his heart. Take the opportunity. Also put on the self-equipped gas mask of the mecha. Immediately gathered energy with the left hand aiming at the ceiling. With a loud bang, the ceiling was smashed to pieces. And there was still a lingering purple poison gas in the air. At this moment, Beck Ye seemed to have confirmed his thoughts. Yelling, "Fat person," as if about to run out of the hospital. In the corner of his eye, he seemed to see a figure. Just as Beck Ye was about to lower the mecha's iron fist. The iron fist suddenly stopped in front of the young lady in the protective suit. In this era of global zombie virus outbreak, just a pack of instant noodles can make the girl fall for you for free. Even more so, pretty girl does not hesitate to use her body to seduce mutated zombies. Only to kill her own enemy, Beck Ye. And Beck Ye also went through several rounds of bitter struggles before sending Roxy Lee to meet Hades. Just while looking for medical equipment and medication for Xiaoyu. Encountered again the dreaded dense cloud of poisonous gas from a past life. Beck Ye relies on the memories of his past life and his identity as a mechanic to resolve these troubles. Also found the genius doctor of medicine Tang for Xiaoyu. Just as the group was about to return to the research institute, they encountered the mutant beast that was supposed to appear only a few years before Doomsday. Even Beck Ye, who was a mechanical engineer, couldn't help but feel a chill run down his spine. Even when Beck Ye put on his mech suit, he couldn't help but emit beams of worry. He couldn't even harm the mutant beast at all. Instead, such behavior only angers the mutant beast even more. Beck Ye can only keep dodging the attacks when he sees this situation. To cover the retreat of Fat Person and Tang, he even engaged in close combat with the mutant beast. As Fat Person and Tang got farther away, Beck Ye began to go all out. In each attack, he found the root of the problem. So when the mutant beast pounced again, Beck Ye didn't confront it directly but dodged to the side. Then quickly reach out and grab the ribbon, pulling it off with force. With a roar, the huge body of the beast collapsed to the ground. The previous moment, the imposing mutant beast. The next moment, it was as limp as Zhu Beiji, who had just eaten his fill, lying on the ground. Beck Ye didn't give mutant beast a chance to counterattack at all. He directly executed a set of palm techniques descending from the sky. He fiercely struck mutant beast on the head. Immediately after, he raised the mecha iron fist high. Just then, there was a sound from the eye socket. The head of the mutant beast was directly killed with blood and flesh flying around. Then what came into sight was the super large energy dark crystal, or rather, mutant beast core. Beck Ye immediately pulled it out. Seeing that it was artificially modified and implanted into the beast, a chill rose in his heart. However, with this mutant beast core, he could now create even stronger weapons. What Beck Ye did not notice was that everything here was being watched by a man in black clothes. Nevertheless, after dealing with everything, Beck Ye did not dare to stay any longer. He immediately contacted Fat Person, thinking about resolving the crisis and having Fat Person come back to pick him up. However, due to Fat Person running too far, the signal simply could not connect. I thought Beck Ye would have to walk back to the research by himself. I only heard a sound of searching. Beck Ye, wearing a red mecha suit, actually relied on the mecha to achieve the dream of flying in the air that every YouTuber dreams of. But when Beck Ye was floating in the air, his face instantly became serious. Just then, a young man in a suit with blonde hair and green eyes appeared in front of him. There was also a hint of a zombie's foul smell emanating from him. Just as the man was about to say hello to Beck Ye, he didn't even finish his sentence. Beck Ye immediately emitted a beam of green energy with his left hand, but the target disappeared instantly. Seeing this scene, Beck Ye could not help but break out in a cold sweat. A man in black suddenly appeared on the rooftop of a distant apartment building. Don't be so impulsive. Perhaps you have some bias against ability users, but I don't mean any harm. However, as Beck Ye, who has been reborn, knows the evil of ability users. He immediately shot a beam of energy light. What was unexpected was that the man in black easily dodged it, even jumping directly onto Beck Ye's mech. Beck Ye, who was insulted, directly grabbed him in his hand. The man in black said he is a member of the Shadow Organization. He came today just to deliver a message. I have also been tasked to recruit talents like Beck Ye. The next sentence hasn't been said yet. Beck Ye was already caught by a large amount of fresh blood. The next second Beck Ye saw his empty palm. Realizing that this was just an ability user with a body replacement ability, his strength was weak, he was just a mortal. Beck Ye never expected that this was just the early stage of the apocalypse. The Shadow Organization had already been formed. In that case, he could only prepare for the worst now. In the world 50 years after the apocalypse, the strongest organization is the Shadow Organization, which not only possesses vast resources, but also gathers elites from all walks of life. They plan to use modified ability users to unify the world. On the other side, That Person and Tang also ran back to the Research Institute. When Tang saw the Research Institute in front of him, he couldn't help but marvel at how such an ordinary place could produce armored vehicles and mechs. That Person instantly felt that the woman in front of him seemed like a fool. She seemed to be clueless about everything in the post-apocalyptic era, just following the two strong men. Tang claimed that he had a keen eye for judging people. At this time, Dr. Hanzhong also walked out. Unexpectedly, Beck and Ye really managed to find a doctor. However, Tang instantly turned into a socialization badass. Are you the doctor who makes mechs and tanks? In this global era of zombie virus outbreak, just a pack of instant noodles. It can make girls have a free relationship with you. Even more pretty girls are willing to use their bodies to seduce mutant zombies, only to kill their own enemy, Beck Ye. And Beck Ye also went through several rounds of fierce battles before sending Roxy Lee to meet Hades, just when looking for medical equipment and medicine for Xiaoyu. Encountered the dreaded dense cloud of poisonous gas from a past life once again. However, Beck Ye, relying on memories from his past life and his identity as a mechanic, skillfully resolves these troubles one by one. Also, Xiaoyu found the genius doctor of medicine Tang with Beck's help. Just as the group was preparing to return to the Research Institute, they encountered a mutant beast that only appears in the later stages of the apocalypse. Beck Ye relied on his 50 years of battle experience. And with the most advanced mecha, they finally defeated the mutant beast. Just as Beck Ye was on his way back, he encountered envoys from the Shadow Organization. With a single strike from Beck Ye, a beam of worry-colored light shot out. The emissary from the Shadow Organization easily dodged it. He even jumped onto Beck Ye's mecha to provoke a confrontation. Beck Ye didn't waste any words either, directly grabbing him in one go. A little force caused a large amount of fresh blood to burst out. On the other side, That Person and Tang also returned to the Research Institute. A serious doctor. And finally, a serious doctor meets an unserious doctor. First meeting. Tang didn't hide his admiration for the old scientist in front of him at all. There was admiration in every gesture. A series of praises made Dr. Zhang feel very humble. Tang was a name he had heard of before. It had been published in scientific journals. This youngest genius virology PhD. Faced with the praise of a real PhD, Dr. Zhang could only scratch his head awkwardly. But he did not expose Beck Ye's lie. Since Beck Ye told Tang that the mecha was made by himself, there must be a reason for his lie. From another perspective, in any case, Beck Ye is also unwilling to tell himself all the secrets of the Dark Crystal. Why not research together with Tang instead? Thinking to this point, Dr. Zhang suddenly gained confidence. While welcoming Tang, he also confirmed the collaboration between the two. However, before the research begins, we still need Dr. Tang to lend a hand. In the Research Institute ward, Tang conducted a detailed examination of Xiaoyu's various physical indicators. After going out, he made an okay gesture to the anxious doctoral student waiting at the door. The old man's mind was filled with countless thoughts in that moment. He looked at the serious doctoral student and thought, "Wow, a serious illness like this can be handled by people like him." "Wait a minute, Dr. Tang. Is this what you mean by okay?" Tang was almost knocked out by anger. "What I meant by okay is that he probably has at most 3 months left. I have seen countless cases of the same symptoms. He is the only one who can hold on for so long. Conventional medical methods nowadays simply cannot help her. Unless we use this." Speaking, Tang once again took out the beads in his hand. Under specific conditions, this bead will emit abnormal energy. This energy will trigger the regeneration of surrounding cells and build new forms. As long as we control this energy, there is hope for Xiaoyu's condition. This is also the topic we will be researching next. Dr. Zhang believes the energy that Tang mentioned must be truly existing. Those ability users who have consumed Dark Crystal, haven't they just confirmed this fact? But if the research fails, won't Xiaoyu directly turn into a monster? So there are 2 options in front of me. Either watch Xiaoyu die, or try to seize a lifeline in the last 3 months. On the other side, after Fat Person put away Tang's bottles and jars, he planned to go out to look for Beck Ye. And Tang's words really surprised Fat Person. If you want to cure Xiaoyu's illness, you must bring Xiaoyu's dad back. At this moment, Beck Ye is enduring the scorching summer heat on the rooftop, heading back home. Because the weather is too hot, Beck Ye is starting to feel agitated at this moment. He keeps cursing Fat Person's ancestors, wondering why they haven't come to pick him up yet. Beck Ye determinedly thinks to himself, "Damn, it's too hot. Even if I don't get eaten by zombies, I might just die from the heat." He leaps forward to find some water to cool down directly. Before long, Beck Ye stops in front of a large shopping mall. When Beck Ye breaks into the window and enters, he is attracted by a strange sound. Looking around, apart from several zombie bodies drifting on the pool surface, nothing else is found. Suddenly, a figure flashes past Beck Ye's peripheral vision. Beck Ye fires a bright green beam without hesitation, blasting the obstacle blocking his sight into pieces. Immediately into view is a 30-meter-tall monster. In this era of a global zombie virus outbreak, 95% of humans have been infected and turned into zombies. And the remaining 5% of humans are even more inhuman. For a packet of instant noodles, they directly tortured the 12-year-old girl to death. Let's call them scum for now. Beck Ye is the only mechanic in this post-apocalyptic world. Now, in order to find water to drink, one has to brave the scorching summer heat, constantly shuttle between skyscrapers just to reduce zombie attacks. Along the way, there are constant curses hurled at the ancestors of Fat Person for not coming to pick oneself up. However, Fat Person is currently playing the role of a hero saving the beauty. Originally, after he put down the supplies and medical equipment. Just as he hurried to meet Beck Ye, he encountered a beautiful woman surrounded by zombies on the way. Upon closer inspection, isn't this the woman who was previously held captive by the Wandering Dragon Gang, the one who sold herself? After Beck Ye took care of the Wandering Dragon Gang at that time, a girl quietly escaped on her own. Unexpectedly, she ran here. It just happened to give Fat Person a chance to play the hero and rescue her. He is most skilled at being a hero. The defense system is fully activated. The high-voltage electric grid on the car body crackles. The zombies die on contact and are injured if they touch it. They forcefully cleared a path for escape. The girl, seeing this, quickly got into the car. It was obvious that she was quite frightened. She didn't even recognize Fat Person at first. Seeing this, Fat Person quickly reassured them not to be afraid. "Let me introduce myself. I'm from the invincible Doomsday Rescue Team." Fat Person was still immersed in the hero saving the beauty moment. Beck Ye was completely unaware that he was in big trouble at the moment. To be honest, Beck Ye's luck is really bad. He definitely has the physique that attracts monsters. Just now, Beck Ye, who was looking for water to drink, found a large shopping mall. So he jumped into the shopping mall to look for supplies. did not expect to not find the supermarket in the mall. Instead, he encountered a big eel. The degree of bad luck is really like having a toothache while drinking cold water. The big eel is 5 zong in length, with a head as big as a cow. Upon discovering Beck Ye, it immediately activated the ambush mode. Just as it was about to succeed, its big mouth was unexpectedly blocked by a pair of iron arms, preventing it from biting down any further. If it hadn't run fast, Beck Ye would definitely have given it a massage with his hands. After a fierce battle, Beck Ye continuously emitted green light beams, eventually managing to knock down the loach. At this moment, a red figure appeared on the head of the giant loach, gradually separating from the monster. The next second, he suddenly stood up and faced Beck Ye. Light faintly shone out from the hollow eye sockets. Beck Ye's entire body froze in place, unable to move. The creature, upon seeing this scene, seemed to retaliate. It swung its tail and flung him away. The whole right leg was entangled by the opponent and slowly dragged into the water. So far, the body still couldn't move. At this moment, Beck Ye only realized that he was careless today. Maybe he would really die here. If that person were here, the outcome might be different. At this moment, a strong vibration accompanied by a loud noise came. 2 green lights pierced through the wall, hitting the head of the giant catfish directly. Following closely behind is a cool-looking Batmobile. "Brother Ye, are you okay? The invincible Doomsday rescue team is here. Surrender now." The moment the catfish saw the Batmobile, it already had the idea of running away. At this moment, Beck Ye, who had just recovered, punched the catfish in the waist. The pain made it step back repeatedly, creating a certain distance between both sides. Beck Ye did not pursue the attack, but calmly stared at the opponent and shouted loudly, "That person, if this monster stares at me, use the laser gun to blast it." Then Beck Ye shot out 2 rays of anxious light with both hands. Shoot quickly forward. Hit the giant catfish right in the abdomen. The huge body fell to the ground in a slump. The humanoid creature on top struggled to lift its head, making a hissing sound like a snake. It seemed to still be expressing dissatisfaction towards Beck Ye. The next moment, a big hand firmly pressed him to the ground. It asked if the shadow organization sent you to kill me. Unexpectedly, the guy who was originally pressed to the ground obediently went crazy upon hearing the words, "Shadow organization." He began to struggle desperately, making incoherent sounds, saying, "No, I won't go back, don't make me go back," while everyone was puzzled. The sound caught the attention of the beauty beside the fat person. Unexpectedly, the cause of the apocalypse was not someone starting the Third World War. It was caused by this small bead, bringing about the crisis of the apocalypse. But at the same time, it is also the key to the advancement of human technology. This time, Beck Ye finally made a decision. He revealed the secret buried in his heart to everyone. Just now, Beck Ye was pressed down in the water by a giant loach and almost drowned. At a critical moment, that person arrived just in time to help resolve the situation. After being rescued, Beck Ye had a fierce expression, his emotions on the verge of exploding. Just as he was about to take the life of the big loach, who had been pressed to the ground obediently, the loach suddenly went crazy. It started struggling vigorously and making incomprehensible sounds. When everyone was confused, this sound caught the attention of the beauty next to fat person. He trembled as he got off the car. "Are you Annie?" The mutated creature paused upon hearing a familiar voice. Seems to have regained a bit of sanity. Lena heard the other person shout out her name. The prostitute's legs softened, and she knelt before the mutated creature. In an instant, her thoughts were endless. She couldn't understand it no matter how hard she tried. How did her once elegant and cultured sister become what she is now? They have never done anything wrong. Yet, they endure unbearable pain. Facing this cruel world, they are unable to make the slightest impact. The only comfort they can find is in embracing each other. Painful relatives reappear. Annie gradually regains her sanity and unravels many mysteries for everyone. It turns out that after the virus outbreak, he was unfortunately taken away by the shadow organization. He was met with endless experiments and alterations, ultimately leading to his current appearance. Unable to endure it any longer, he found an opportunity to escape. However, he was still discovered by the shadow organization, and was chased by a large dog they sent after him. I'm sure this large dog is the one that Beck Ye just dealt with. Later, Beck Ye passed by here, and he still had some scent of the big dog on him. That's why he got ambushed by Annie. Xiao Yu listened to the story and felt pity for their tragic encounter. Annie immediately interceded on behalf of Beck Ye, even inviting them to visit the research institute to understand the situation. After learning the reasons, Beck Ye's anger had diminished by half. With Xiao Yu also pleading, there was nothing more to be said. They could only silently hold the shadow organization accountable for this crisis. Soon, the group set out on the road back to the research institute. Soon, the two doctors in the research institute were looking at the huge mutated creature in front of them. They fell into deep thought one after another. Inside the research institute, Lena was still recounting the tragic experience of the two sisters. During the time that Annie was taken away by the shadow organization, no one knew how much hardship she had endured, how much suffering she had experienced. But from the moment she entered the research institute, her life would start anew. The way people looked at them also changed from initial shock to anger, and finally turned into pity. Lena continued to tell her story about the situation after she escaped from the Wandering Dragon gang. After escaping, she received help from a middle-aged man who not only took her around to search for food, but also got her a cloak stained with zombie blood and flesh. This allowed her to conceal herself among the zombie horde. Just recently, this person suddenly left and has not appeared again. The person you are talking about is named Harrison Yao Xiaoyu. Xiaoyu said excitedly. Yes, yes. Getting a positive response from Lena. Xiaoyu suddenly lost control of her emotions and fainted on the ground. That person is extremely worried. He immediately asked Beck Ye if he wanted to go look for him now. Unexpectedly, this time Beck Ye directly denied it. And he said that he would start upgrading his mecha as soon as possible. And he would enhance the defense facilities around the research institute. At this moment, Dr. Zhang couldn't help but ask Beck Ye, what exactly are you going to fight against? You should explain it to us. That person on the side also quickly followed up, saying that if Beck Ye has any goals or intentions, it's better to speak out. Everyone can help together. In case of any accidents, others can also help him accomplish it. Upon hearing this, Beck Ye seemed to instantly sober up. Can you believe it? The cause of the apocalypse is not someone initiating the Third World War. Instead, it's the crisis of the doomsday caused by this tiny bead. But at the same time, it is also the key to the advancement of human technology. This time, Beck Ye finally made a decision. He revealed the secret hidden in his heart to everyone. Just then, Dr. Zhang couldn't help but speak up. Beck Ye, what exactly are you going to confront? You should explain it to us. In addition, the fat person beside also immediately spoke up, saying, Brother Ye, if you have any goals, it's better to say it. We can help each other out. If something unexpected happens, others can also help you accomplish it. Upon hearing this, Beck Ye seemed to be instantly awakened. His reincarnation mission is not just about revenge. It is also the hope for all mankind to fight against the shadow organization. Perhaps one day, he will indeed encounter an accident, but the battle against the shadow organization in this endless doomsday era must be carried out by someone. At this point, Beck Ye finally stops hiding and lays out all the secrets in his heart. Looking at the people on the sofa, Beck Ye said, I am a person who traveled back from 50 years in the future. That person looked surprised and said, Time travel. I always felt that Brother Ye was not like an ordinary person. A high school student in their teens is so mature. And killing zombies is as easy as cutting vegetables for him. The two doctors were also very emotional. Can time travel really be achieved in the future? It's unbelievable that humans can survive for 50 years after the apocalypse. The source of everything is still the energy dark crystal. While this is the origin of disaster, it is also the key to technological advancement. However, after the virus appeared, it will sweep the earth in a few years. 90% of people unfortunately become zombies. Later, some talented individuals studying black crystals to resist the zombie virus. 50 years later, the time machine finally appeared. It can operate within the range of black crystal energy radiation and achieve consciousness transfer in spacetime. In other words, the time machine can only transmit people's consciousness to the period when the zombie virus outbreak occurred. Therefore, it cannot prevent the virus outbreak. In a past life, Doctor, you also researched the ingredients of dark crystal. They are not elements found on Earth. We speculate that the most likely origin is extraterrestrial. That person looked incredulous. Could this be an alien invasion of Earth? Perhaps. If that's really the case, aliens may have completely overrun humanity. Undoubtedly, they would emerge victorious. 50 years after the virus outbreak, there were few humans left on Earth. Nevertheless, humanity was killing each other for resources. Almost all members of my organization have been killed. In the end, only I can carry out the last mission of the organization. Go back in time. Save humanity. Destroy the Shadow Organization after I cross over. My companions will be responsible for blowing up the entire laboratory, burying the traces of the time machine. It can be said to be a desperate move. Now someone has accelerated the spread of the zombie virus. Presumably, this is why the Shadow Organization is growing so fast. So it is not difficult to guess that someone from the Shadow Organization has also crossed over. At this time, Tang issued a sole interrogation. You tell us about your background. So, can we be your companions in the future? Beck Ye had no idea how to answer at this time, because he was unsure as well. Beck Ye then continued to Tang. Have you researched the characteristics of the zombie virus? Yes. I have said that our survival is simply a miracle. Because of the virus spread. It's not just getting infected after being bitten by a zombie. In fact, this virus spreads through the air. Upon hearing this, that person and Dr. Zhang's hearts were instantly gripped with apprehension. Does that mean we will also be affected? So I said, we are all chosen ones. Our bodies have already developed resistance to viruses in the air. But there's no guarantee that we won't mutate after being bitten by a zombie. So we still need to be careful of these mutated zombies. Although we are immune to viruses spread in the air, it is not absolutely safe. The genius girl got drunk alone late at night. The appetizer turned out to be a head that had been bitten off by zombies. The Shadow Organization's plan to completely wipe out humanity is still accelerating. And Beck Ye's narration continues. Since the Shadow Organization has also traveled back, they will try every means to speed up the efficiency of virus transmission. What is known now is that the efficiency of zombie mutation has increased several times. The probability of ordinary people transforming into ability users has also increased to a certain extent. In addition, ability beasts and mutant beasts are all creations of the Shadow Organization. And at this moment, that person is still clueless. Since Brother Yi knows that the Shadow Organization has a way to control the zombie virus and a time machine, why not go back in time to save humanity? I have to regretfully inform everyone that the Shadow Organization only does everything except saving humanity. In their eyes, ability users are considered a higher existence than humans. Their only goal is to destroy humanity, to establish a world ruled by ability users. After listening to these, Dr. Zhang also talked about his research during this period. A few days ago, when Beck Ye and Fat Person were looking for Little Moon's father from the car accident, they found many small boxes the size of palms. The two guessed that these might be the medicine Xiaoyu uses to treat the disease. So they brought some back. After researching, it was found that the ingredients of these drugs are similar to dark crystal. And when dark crystal combines with them, it shows quite an active performance, as if it were a catalyst for dark crystal. Does the loss of acceleration mutation have anything to do with this? In other words, If this drug is really a catalyst for dark crystal, then who is Xiaoyu's dad? And what is the relationship with the shadow organization? A series of questions were thrown out. Everyone thought about it for a long time and had no clue. It was decided to focus on completing the current task first. 3 gentlemen began to add defense facilities to the research institute. Tang is helping Xiaoyu recover from illness. In the evening, Xiaoyu woke up groggily from the sickbed. She walked to the laboratory corridor and found that the lab lights were still on. At that moment, Tang, who was wearing a coat, was alone leaning on the lab bench, chatting as if talking to an old friend while drinking and sharing something. Tang, a little tipsy from the alcohol, kept sighing. He came to the research institute hoping to solve some of his problems, but now found that the problems were only increasing. When Xiaoyu approached, he turned slowly. He didn't expect that despite his petite stature, Xiaoyu had a well-proportioned figure. He looked at Xiaoyu and smiled happily. "You heard everything, didn't you?" "Yes, I'm chatting with him," he said. He reached out his right hand and gently stroked the glass jar in front of him. It was such a gentle gesture. As if he was caressing the face of a lover. "This guy is my childhood sweetheart. One who has been rejected countless times. Still, he comes licking my boots. He is a presumptuous fool. A simple-minded good guy. Clearly doesn't like being a doctor, but still sacrifices everything for me. Fool is just a fool like that. When I was being chased by zombies, only he stayed back to cover me. Gave up hope of survival by themselves. When someone plagiarizes my research results, only he stood in front of me to speak up for me. To prove for me. After he was infected, he kept fighting with the zombies. However, he was torn to pieces by the horde of zombies. Looking at the floor covered with shredded bodies, I can no longer distinguish which part belongs to him. And I have been thinking all along, if these pieces were put back together, and then using the dark crystal on him, would he come back to life?" Tang's voice is soft, as if narrating or recalling. Perhaps the person who loves him has never really left him. Late at night, a teenage girl drinks alone, pondering how to use the energy dark crystal to revive her boyfriend, who was bitten and torn apart by zombies. Inside the research lab, Tang continues to recount her past with her boyfriend. Just as she was talking about how her boyfriend was torn to pieces by zombies while trying to protect her, Tang actually thought about piecing together her boyfriend's dismembered body and using the hidden energy in the dark crystal to resurrect him. Upon hearing this, Xiaoyu was stunned at first, thinking how is this possible? Realizing the unrealistic nature of what she had just said, Tang burst out laughing with a "pu" sound. It wouldn't be fun even if it was a zombie coming back to life. Xiaoyu quickly said, "Dr. Tang, you don't need to overthink it. Perhaps he has always been by your side, just in a different form." Upon hearing this, Tang raised his glass again, lost in thought for a long time. Tang gradually recovered from his trance without knowing how much time had passed. He quickly had Xiaoyu, who was still sick, go back to the room to rest. Xiaoyu unconsciously walked to the swimming pool where Annie was resting. At that moment, dark currents surged underwater. A huge dark shadow was swimming toward Xiaoyu. The next second, a mutant creature several tens of meters in size emerged from the water. It was Annie who was resting there. Xiaoyu took a step forward and reached out her hands to touch Annie. She then gently asked, "Miss Annie, is it uncomfortable to have your body transformed like this? Does it hurt?" After a moment of contemplation, Annie seemed to sense the warmth of Xiaoyu's hands. After a moment, she shook her head and recalled feeling scared before. But now, it doesn't hurt anymore. "You've been in pain all this time, haven't you? Enduring it is very painful." Xiaoyu smiled and said, "No matter what happens, we are still human after all." Just as she finished speaking, Xiaoyu's arm went limp, and her body suddenly fell down. Annie quickly used her own tail to catch the falling Xiaoyu and brought her outside the laboratory. At that moment, Tang, who had heard the commotion, also hurried out. Seeing Xiaoyu lying on Annie's tail, Tang didn't hesitate and said, How did you end up outside when I asked you to go back to your room? If you keep coming back like this, then I won't be able to cure you. Half an hour later, several people in the research institute gathered in the operating room. Xiaoyu had been taken to the medical cabin to maintain vital signs. His body had reached its limit long ago. It's unknown what allowed this young girl to hold on until now. At this moment, the surgery is a necessity for Xiaoyu. Beck Ye quickly fused part of the mutant beast core and red dark crystal. As long as Tang follows the formula he provided for the surgery, Xiaoyu's life will be in no danger. Dr. Zhang, who treats Xiaoyu as his own granddaughter, truly feels that only the energy of the dark crystal can be used. He is always uneasy. There is no other way. The medication Tang has been researching can only provide a soothing effect. Xiaoyu also needs some time to adapt to the effects of the dark crystal. And rest assured, follow the formula provided by me. To be on the safe side, that person drove to the downtown area. This time, he is determined to find Xiaoyu's father and fulfill Xiaoyu's wish. On the other side, a man was looking at the huge tire marks on the road. He was draped in a cloak smeared with zombie flesh. After walking through all the nearby streets and failing to find Miss Chiao, he had no choice but to give up. Suddenly, there was a swooshing sound in the sky. The man quickly hid and covered his mouth and nose with one hand, afraid of making any noise. The next moment, a giant figure appeared in the sky, seeming to be searching for something. After hovering over the downtown area for a while, the figure slowly departed. The man finally breathed a sigh of relief upon seeing this. However, at some point, a tall figure had silently appeared behind him. The situation seemed to be more dangerous than auspicious at this moment. As the most beautiful medical doctor in the apocalypse, she got drunk alone at night. The side dish turned out to be a head that had been bitten off by zombies. After drinking, she actually wanted to use the dark crystal to resurrect her boyfriend, who had been bitten to pieces by zombies. It wasn't until Xiaoyu's reminder that she finally came to her senses. Just now, Xiaoyu fainted again due to excessive worry about her father's condition. Everyone could only put Xiaoyu into the medical pod for conservative treatment. On the other side, that person and Lena are searching for Xiaoyu's father. Lena is using a drone and the street surveillance system to search continuously through one area after another. At this moment on the dilapidated streets, a man wearing a cloak is sprinting along the road. Behind him, 2 level 2 zombies are relentlessly chasing after him. However, this scene was just spotted by Lena, who had recently become familiar with piloting a drone. That person is driving a tank and gradually moving closer under Lena's command. Seeing the zombies are about to catch up, the man immediately unties his cloak and fiercely throws it backwards. This action seems awkward, but it actually hides a secret trick. The inside of the cloak has already been rigged with explosives by him. As he let go, the fuse was already lit. In an instant, a loud explosion behind. 2 zombies were already engulfed in the raging flames. It's a pity that this handmade bomb, at best, only created some visual effects. It doesn't have any killing power. After the zombies passed through the raging flames and approached step by step, a laser beam swept through them. The 2 zombies were pierced instantly. Before the man could come to his senses, that person had already arrived in a handsome manner driving a tank. "Get in the car. I'll take you to see Xiaoyu," said the man who still had a shocked look on his face. Upon hearing the name Xiaoyu, he instantly regained his composure. He scrambled over and sat beside fat person. The black tank sped away on the empty streets. However, everything that had just happened had already been observed by members of the Shadow Organization. Bluebird expressed, "Are we just going to let them go like this? Will there be consequences from above? These people are highly monitored by the advisors. We must handle this seriously. When did our Shadow Organization stoop so low as to scheme in secret? Let me charge indirectly and wipe them out to avoid future trouble." Yellowhair snorted coldly. "Why are you so impulsive now? You know we are short-handed." A while ago, there was a girl who consumed 7 energy dark crystals in one go and mutated into a high-level ability user. However, her attempt to control tens of thousands of zombies failed. Not to mention our current situation. On the other side, Dr. Zhang finally reunited with an old friend, only this time the exchange lacked the usual pleasantries from before the virus outbreak. After a simple conversation, Dr. Zhang brought her to Xiaoyu's hospital room and provided a detailed update on Xiaoyu's condition. Upon learning that Xiaoyu's condition worsened due to her frantic search for her own identity, as a father, he could not contain his emotions and burst into tears, holding his head in his hands. At this moment, Dr. Zhang took out the medication found in Xiaoyu's father's car earlier, asking who gave you these medications, and what are they for. I am not very clear about the specific effects, but what I can be sure of is that there is a strong connection between the appearance of zombies in the city and this medicine. Initially, in order to cure Xiaoyu's illness, I was misled by the shadow organization and acted as a delivery person distributing medicine for them. Never did I expect that when I truly understood how terrifying this organization was, it was already too late. After the zombie outbreak, he failed to return home in time, resulting in Xiaoyu falling into this difficult situation. Previously, he always taught Xiaoyu that there are many good people in the world and encouraged her to do good deeds. How could he have imagined that he would inadvertently help bad people? Is this now a case of karmic retribution? The situation with his daughter has almost pushed him to the brink. Dr. Zhang has tried to advise him earnestly, but it is still not effective. At this moment, Tang, who had changed into work clothes, walked over. He asked Xiaoyu if she was still alive. Now, as long as you draw some blood, I can cure him. Xiaoyu's father, upon learning that his own blood could save his daughter, asked the doctor to do whatever it takes to save Xiaoyu, even if it means drawing all of his blood. Tang smiled lightly. But it's best if you are his biological father. Otherwise, I can only use the dark crystal to save him. Upon hearing the words, "Dark crystal," Harrison Yao immediately stopped. No, absolutely cannot use the dark crystal, it will harm Xiaoyu. As the most beautiful medical doctor at the end of the world, she drinks alone late at night. The appetizer turns out to be a head bitten off by zombies. After drinking, I intended to use the dark crystal to completely cure Xiaoyu's illness. However, I encountered strong opposition from Harrison Yao. No, you cannot use dark crystal. Everyone is very surprised. Now using dark crystal can completely cure Xiaoyu's condition. As a father, you insist on objecting. Do you know the secrets about dark crystal? I don't know how to explain. Anyway, the Shadow Organization wants to conduct a large-scale experiment using dark crystal. And the subjects of the experiment are all human beings. The scope covers the entire globe. Many people will die as a result. That being said, with the current global situation, even if 95% of the population turned into zombies, it wouldn't make much difference in terms of life or death. Dr. Tang, I know what you're saying. Anyway, it seems like people associated with the Dark Crystal Shadow Organization have mentioned that this experiment might affect anything related to Dark Crystal. But we can only use the energy from the Dark Crystal to fight against them. Other than that, we have nowhere to escape to. Upon hearing Dr. Zhang's words, Harrison Yao seemed very excited. We must escape, otherwise we will all die. Under the impulse, Harrison now even plans to give up treatment and quickly take his daughter away from here. At this moment, there was a sound of something cracking. In the end, Harrison Yao was knocked out cold by Beck Ye's single-handed knife strike. Hurry up with the blood draw and surgery. Don't waste any more time. The farce finally came to an end. At the same time, in a small Western-style building, several men gathered in the room, each entertaining themselves. Occasionally, they would exchange a few words. If Beck Ye were here, it wouldn't be difficult to recognize the blonde man. This person is indeed his classmate Offing. Not long ago, Offing swallowed 3 dark crystals to protect the safety of his classmates and transformed into an ability user. Now, with the help of the Shadow Organization, he has returned to human form and has gained the trust of the Shadow Organization. I am curious too. What kind of society can ability users really form? We no longer need to eat. Not even afraid of zombies. Can switch combat forms at will. But I don't think we are a united force. Hee. You are right. The bearded man on the side continued. Being able to consider this point shows that you are really extraordinary. No wonder the consultant mentioned you before, saying you are doing well in the future. Quite an impressive demeanor. As for the issue you mentioned, I think you don't need to worry. This is a problem that the consultant needs to consider. For now, we just need to listen to him well. Is it okay to listen? Is there really no problem in listening to someone from the future? Often continued to ask. The old man with a beard grinned. Don't you think it's the words of someone from the future that are truly reliable? Beck Ye is also from the future. Why doesn't he want to become an ability user? That's because he didn't do well. He's weak and incompetent. He can't stand seeing others doing well. That's why he wants to use a time machine to come back and change his fate. Unlike our advisor who came back. He came back to deal with troublemakers like Beck Ye. Let our ability user become the ruler of the world early. Just as Beardman finished speaking. Applause was heard nearby. A person wrapped in a black suit walked slowly. Well said. The world that Beck Ye pursues is quite different from ours. We really need to get rid of it. But at the current stage, we still need to engage him. Influence him. Let him realize new ideas. So that he can join us. As he spoke, he raised his right hand and made a strange gesture. Seeing this, the others also raised their arms and said in unison, We have abandoned the old body, which had no plasticity, and gained a new life. We want to conduct a deeper exploration of the Dark Crystal. We aim to become the most powerful race on Earth and even in the universe. The Dark Crystal is the entire meaning of our existence. The Shadow Organization persists. It can be seen that the faith of everyone in the Shadow Organization is still very firm.